Welcome back to another player interview on the channel. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Julian Cash. Julian, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you.
Perfect. So I know you had surgery quite recently on your groin problem.
Yeah.
Just how did the surgery go and how's the recovery gone? Are you back on court now?
Yeah, surgery went absolutely fine. It was actually an injury I picked up about a year ago. Decided to not have the surgery back then. Um, go down the conservative route, just rehab and stuff. But then once COVID hit, I was lucky enough to have a sort of full 4 day gap, and yeah, get it done nice and quick. And yeah, I've been back on court the last 3 weeks ish since we've been allowed to get back out there. And yeah, it all feels good. So glad I got it done.
Yeah, I've been doing my research and you haven't been very lucky with injuries. I know you've had, a serious shoulder problem and an ankle
Yeah.
problem and groin. And although injuries are never a positive thing, you sort of think the fact that you've come through all them and come out the other side has made you stronger as a person and, more determined to have success in your pro career.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely learned a lot during it. I think with the current issue, like with COVID and stuff, having some of the injuries in the past has definitely helped me cope with what's going on at the moment mentally.
Mhm.
Just I guess it feels quite similar from a personal perspective as just going through another injury. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned a lot. I've definitely built up a lot of resilience, and there's definitely a hunger to get back out on court and try and see what I can do out there. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So just sort of going back to the start, what are your sort of first memories of picking up a tennis racket, and did you have any sort of early inspirations that you aspired to be like in the tennis world?
Well, yeah. So I first picked up a racket around 6 or 7. I had again like minimal hours, but kind of progressed from them. And the first like real inspiration I had was back when I was younger. There was a tournament called Fred Perry,
Hmm.
which I guess was like a version of the national championships. And I was in, I think, semi-finals and finals were on site, and they would have some exhibition matches. And I remember watching Monfils when I was probably only about 10 years old. But yeah, that was my first kind of real experience, remembering watching like a professional play and being like really close to the action. And I actually hit some balls with him on the practice court as well, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think when you watch tennis on the TV and watch it live, it's definitely a lot different. You sort of see how much they put into it, don't you?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but just sort of moving on to your junior career, you became junior British champion, and I just thought you would talk about that time of your career and sort of how much you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so that was a good benchmark for me. I stayed in education throughout, so I wasn't always able to play as much tennis as I probably would have liked. But I don't regret staying in education. I mean, at the time I didn't like it, but I was young, and most people wouldn't want to be in education. But I'm glad I stayed through it, leaving kind of the college option open for me. But that was a really nice thing because I kind of felt a little bit left behind at times watching some of my peers playing more.
Hmm.
Maybe their rankings progressing a bit more while I was kind of not able to do that. So yeah, winning the nationals was a really good thing for me mentally, and kind of drive me forwards, and made me realize again that I was at the level of some of the top guys in the country. So
Yeah, so from then you moved to the Oklahoma in USA to pursue your tennis career in college tennis. Just talk to
yeah.
me about how that move came about and why you chose to move to the USA.
So I continued kind of through that junior circuit. I was doing like the ITFs as most people were. I did the junior Wimbledon and stuff. I unfortunately couldn't do Australian Open or French Open because of school, but I was able to play Wimbledon, which was great. I met a lot of coaches there, and then also in Orange Bowl out in America, I met a lot of coaches there too. So originally, it wasn't really on my radar, to be honest. Kind of came about quite late. I hadn't heard too much about American University. Didn't really know what the level was like. So again, yeah, it wasn't really on my radar. But the closer I got to the coaches, and kind of got a feel for it, and started seeing some of the better British guys coming out. So like Joe Salisbury would be an example. When I was about 16, played a couple of the same tournaments as him. So kind of saw his level coming out of college and some other guys like that internationally. And yeah, it kind of solidified what the level was actually like. So yeah, it kind of progressed from there, and along with like some of the financial issues, starting a professional career, and the fact I'd been in education my whole life, it kind of all linked together with a lot of things that I wanted to continue doing, and yeah, so it all worked out well, quite last minute, but yeah, I'm glad I went down that route for sure.
Yes, you had a very successful time in America. You were named on the All America's list on 3 occasions, and you feel like your game really progressed in America, and what do you sort of put that down to?
I definitely did, yeah. I think more, well, my tennis definitely progressed, but I also think I grew up a lot. I mean, as most people do at university, even taking the sport away from it, a lot of independence. Kind of, it's an environment where you can make some mistakes and learn from it, and maybe the consequences of those aren't as big as if I would have been on the tour. So just a really good learning time for me. I figured a lot out about my tennis and tennis in general, like how a lot of other people play and the best ways to play them. So tactically, I think I improved a lot. And again, like going through, that's kind of where my injuries started. I hadn't had many. I'd had some niggles and stuff, but I hadn't had anything serious before that. But going through that in a team environment, I think really benefited me. And yeah, just the whole thing was different perspective on tennis. Very different pressures playing for a team. Traveling and working out with the same guys, I think was great. And then also, prior to being there, a lot of the stuff I'd been doing was on my own. So I was either at school with my friends who didn't necessarily understand what I was doing, or I was like with other tennis players, but they were more or less my opponents. So actually having like-minded people around me, training with them, and even across other sports, there was, I don't quite know how many athletes, but we had 500 plus student athletes on campus. So just having other people trying to do a similar thing, making similar sacrifices and stuff, was great. But yeah, overall, I just the learning experience for me and the chance, I guess, to grow up before having to go on the tour.
Yeah, there's a lot of junior players watch these interviews that are sort of thinking about their next step, whether to turn pro or move to a UK university or go down the similar route you did in US college tennis. And would you recommend that route now looking back?
I would, yeah. I mean, I was actually speaking to someone about 3 or 4 days ago, a younger guy, who was asking me about the college route. I mean, he's very good. He'd be one of the people on the edge of wanting to go pro, or I guess some people would maybe be shocked if he decided to go to college. But my perspective is, if the opportunity's there, take it. If you love it, you'll be forever grateful you went, and it is a very unique experience. But if you don't like it, then you can always leave. They've got, well, one, you can just leave after a year and be done with it, but they've also got stuff set up that if you've completed a certain amount of your degree, you can go back in the future and complete it, still under scholarship. So I personally don't think there's much to lose from going there. I even think a lot of people, if they did just go for a year, a lot of the experiences they would gain from that year could benefit them a lot on tour. And it's quite a tough place to be, if you're 17, 18, just going out there on your own, if you can't afford to have a coach traveling with you, it can be a lonely environment. So from my perspective, I think, I think most people should go. I know a lot of people who didn't and regret it, who are sort of like 25 years old. So yeah, I think no harm in going. Only positives can really come from it, to be honest.
Yeah, I've spoken to quite a few British players who've done the US college tennis route, and they've all only said great things about like the level of coach and the way they look after you. There's people and players, and there's a few players that have turned pro at sort of 16, 17, and it's a good point that you made. It's possibly too early with all the traveling involved, and it's a lonely place. As a tennis pro, as you probably know yourself, but although you have sort of struggled with different injuries, you did still manage to pick up 3 ITF doubles titles last year. So looking back, how do you sort of reflect on your 2019?
Yeah, I mean, definitely ups and downs. But in terms of just looking at my tennis, I feel like I improved a lot throughout. And even some of my singles results, they weren't necessarily great, but it was kind of my first year out there. I can't exactly remember how many events I played, but it's around like 8 or something. So really not a lot, probably like a quarter of a normal schedule, very scattered out, kind of 2 weeks at a time. So even through that, I felt like I progressed a lot. I've done a lot of work off court, so mentally, been working with a psychologist a lot, so that's been great. And yeah, like you said, the doubles went well. Another thing that kind of college helped me with. I mean, I'd always been good at doubles in juniors, but a lot more specific practice on doubles during my college career, and because of the financial implications of this, futures level, even if you're not looking to play a doubles career, it's a huge benefit financially. Not that there's tons of money in it, but it does top up bits and pieces week to week. And again, that's another positive and some things I picked up out there. But overall, I was happy with the year. There was only so much I could do, but I feel like all the time I spent on court was of value, and I feel like I grew a lot off court. So hopefully this year, if we get back out there at all, I'll be able to get off to a quick start.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, you play in both singles and doubles. Does one take priority over the other, or are you sort of just hoping to improve your ranking and win titles in both in the future?
I mean, it's a good question. I haven't thought about it too much. I mean, singles is definitely my priority. In terms of like my training weeks and stuff, it's 95% around singles. I do the odd bits of doubles here and there, but it's more just because I enjoy it, So yeah, singles is definitely the focus, but I know how tough it is to make it in singles, and I know that it's not always necessarily down to the level. There's bits of luck, if that's through injuries or maybe some wild cards or whatever. Other things kind of impact that journey. So I wouldn't be opposed to the doubles career later down the line at all. But for the moment, it's definitely singles.
Yeah, so I've interviewed lots of players that play on doubles, particularly on the ITF tour, and you quickly learn through doing research that some doubles partnerships work and just sort of click straight away, and others just don't work at all. I just wondered what you thought were the key things to a successful doubles partnership.
I think, well, so firstly, someone you're happy traveling with. I think you need to get on off the court before getting on the court, really. I think, I mean, you spend a lot of time with them, so it's a good thing if you get on off court. I think you can also have like certain game styles will match each other. If one of you has a weakness in a certain area, obviously it'll be beneficial if your partner has something that can help kind of counteract that or overshine that weakness. So yeah, for me, those would be the two things. And I also think being able to switch on and off from the fun to then like the serious as well, if you're having let's say you've got a later match in the day, if you've enjoyed the morning, you've had a good practice, whatever, but like come match time, it's time to switch it on and take care of business and get away from maybe the friendship that you might have off court,
So it's difficult, as we said, to talk about short-term goals when we're not sure when tennis is going to return. But do you have long-term goals for your singles and doubles in terms of rankings and titles and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I try and stay away a little bit from the rankings goals. But I would like to, in the next 12 months, I would like to win a futures title for sure. And within 12 months, I would like to be pushing, kind of getting into those challenger events. So I guess that would be like 300-400-ish. So yeah, that's kind of my goal at the moment. And again, like doubles, I would like for that to kind of follow suit. If I could ideally be in the challenges and be able to play both singles and doubles would be great. But yeah, in terms of next 12 months, that's sort of what I'm looking at. And then obviously Wimbledon's always a goal. So I'd like to be playing at least pre-Qs next year, provided the event takes place as normal. So yeah, those would be sort of my next 12 months.
So obviously we touched on before, you've had a few injury problems that have meant you haven't spent as much time on court as you'd have probably liked. So you're just sort of excited and round to go now you're 100% fit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all the work I've done off court, I feel like I'm in a really good place mentally, which, although the injuries have sucked and I wish I hadn't had them, I think I've been able to do a lot of work that maybe would have been overshadowed if I would have just been out there playing on tour. So I think it's put me in a really good place, and yeah, I'm really excited to get out there, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, like having time off court is sometimes a good thing. Makes you appreciate how much you actually like it. I mean, speaking to a lot of my friends that play, you know, that's kind of the underlying thing that's coming out of like this COVID break really, is that everyone's kind of slightly refreshed. You know, it's easy to get in that cycle of just training every week, long hours, the travel and all of that stuff. So having a bit of time off to reevaluate isn't always a bad thing. Arguably I've had too much time off, but yeah, I'll be ready to go as soon as things kick off again.
So do you have any idea when you'll be back playing competitively, or are you just sort of, as you say, working hard and just waiting for the phone call really?
Well, at the moment, it's looking hopeful there'll be some domestic stuff in July. So I believe there's going to be 4 Brit Tours, which will be 16 draws, and then there's a couple of like external events run by some private companies and stuff. So I think there should be some opportunity to compete in July. And as of now, I believe the tour's supposed to kick off in August. I'm pretty sure they're keen to try and keep it there because of obviously US Open and stuff coming up. They've been pretty relaxed at like postponing it month by month up till now, but I think they're pretty keen to get it going by then if they can. But obviously, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. So, just taking it day by day, really. I think I don't want to get my sights set on something and then it not happening. So, just try and focus on what I can control and what I can do. And yeah, the first sort of immediate goal will be those British events. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw on your Instagram that you hit with Novak Djokovic at one time and helping him almost in the final. I just sort of wondered how that came about, and you know, you must have enjoyed that experience to share the court with, the world number one.
Yeah, that was great. So actually a year prior to that, I did a photo shoot as his body double. So I met him, about a year beforehand, and I was coming back from a tournament in, I can't remember, I was playing a Futures Abroad somewhere, and I got a call in the airport from the tournament director who I know quite well, and he asked if I was around. It was over in Eastbourne, and I'm only about 45 minutes from there. So he asked if I was happy to come up and hit, and so I went in the next morning and had a hit with him, which was great fun. Always nice to have those little moments. Kind of, obviously it's only practice, but feel the kind of ball they're hitting and stuff like that. It's always a really nice thing, and always slightly daunting that you get a bigger crowd for that practice than your actual matches, though. But you know, it's what it is.
That's what world number one brings, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just sort of finally, what is your dream achievement in tennis?
For me, my underlying goal is to compete at all the slams, singles and doubles off my own ranking. So pretty much that's top 100. That's kind of ranking wise my goal. But more importantly, to me personally, I mean, I love the sport. So to whatever level it takes me, I think being able to make a career out of it, whatever that is, you know, as long as I can and get by and kind of make it work financially, I'd like to keep playing for as long as possible, to be honest, you know. If it takes me 10 years to reach those kind of goals, then that's fine. Obviously, I would love to do it sooner, but yeah, just to kind of make it a full-on career would be my dream.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I hope we obviously have a long injury-free spell because you haven't done much up to now. And yeah, wish you lots of success in the future. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
very
on.
much. Cheers. Appreciate it.